Mr. Lee.
Quick follow-up on Burundi, then something on South Sudan. The president of the council yesterday called the naming of this envoy to Burundi imminent in order to keep the momentum going, which would seem to probably came from Tybrook Zerihun. So does the Secretary General feel the same imminence?
Yes, I think we can debate on the meaning of words. I would say imminent would probably not be a bad choice of words.
Okay. On South Sudan, there are two things. One is there's a report that Fiji is considering pulling its peacekeepers out due to the unraveling in the country. And there's also these two generals, or one of whom was sanctioned, Peter Gadet and Mr. Gat Kuoth, who have broken away from the Riek Machar forces now, and say that even if peace is reached, they will continue to fight. So does the UN have any response to that? Does this make things more difficult to solve? And,
well, I think,
how would the Fijians be replaced?
The Fijians, I don't know. I can check. I think on the unraveling of the opposition, it's clear that every day that goes by without a political agreement makes the situation that much more complicated to solve. The Secretary General, as he said, very much hopes that a deal will be reached later this month through the IGAD process. But this continued fighting, the continued lawlessness, makes it that much more difficult to reach a deal. But we very much hope that once a deal is reached, that all the parties involved will live up to their obligations. Yep.
Today, the health authorities in Yemen appealed for the world to help in bringing in medicine because hospitals have nothing left. Are there any plans to deliver any medicine?
We echo, and we've been echoing that plea, not only medicine, but food, all sorts of humanitarian supplies. I think we've talked here about the devastation of the health system in Yemen, the destruction of hospitals, of emergency rooms, and obviously the lack of supplies. We echo that call. Mr. Lee.
Okay. Interns, Australia, and wires. I'm sure you've seen this circuit story about the New Zealand intern at the UN in Geneva living in a tent. Well, I want to ask a sort of a more fundamental question, which is that what would the UN say to those who say that by having so many entirely unpaid internship, it basically it limits this possible career step or learning to only the most affluent people?
I think it's a very valid point. The debate around the payment of interns is one that's been going on for some time. We are not in a position to pay our interns. It's too bad in a way, because I think it does limit the opportunity to those who are able to pay their own way and house themselves. Unless the General Assembly changes those rules, there's no change in sight. What's important is that any internship be used as a learning opportunity for the intern, and not be used as as free labor or as a substitute for work done by staff.
Okay. And is that something that the Secretary General has ever raised to the GA, or?
I'm not aware of that.
And I wanted to, I may have missed it in the statement about the countries coming out with their climate change targets, but Australia came out with one, and it's sort of become a touchstone of many people are saying it wouldn't in no way hit this 2 degrees Celsius.
No, of course. I think I did mention that Australia came out with it. I think all of the INDCs. First of all, we very much welcome countries that issue their INDC. It's an important step, and we very much hope that all member states will do so. They really need to be seen as a floor and not a ceiling. They're a starting point. There will be discussions prior to Paris. There will obviously be discussions in Paris. People are free to obviously express their opinion on certain countries' INDCs, but from our part, we're glad we have them, and we do see them as a starting point in the discussions.
And this wire issue.
The wires, my understanding is that holes need to be drilled. They need to go through floors and ceilings, and speaking of floors and ceilings, but not virtual ones, actual real ones. So I beg all of your patience. It's going to take a little bit of time, but a drill needs to be had.
But it will be done.
Power tools need to be used.
It will be done.
It will be done.
Okay.
We end the mass on that work.